today we bring you a special report.
That's right. CIS was on the front page of the South China Morning Post on Monday this week, and not in a positive way.
The headline read, "Fight Escalates for Elite School."
In October last year, 26 members of the CIS Foundation were dismissed. This was due to a Board of Governors ruling that only people who are on the Board of Governors was to retain membership of the foundation.
Now, the Board of Governors is a higher-tier governing body that oversees financial affairs, general academic directions, and major initiatives. The foundation is a separate, more detached body that is to do with the ownership of the school. Thus, the day-to-day running of the school, delegated to the administration, will not be affected.
Nevertheless, these are some very influential people we're talking about here. We have donors, a former founder, and other powerful people that other corporate governors would kill to have on their board. However, it is maintained by Dr. Fonts, the Board of Governors, and even most of the dismissed foundation members that it was all for streamlining the higher order of running the school for the better of CIS.
We went to interview Dr. Fonts to briefly discuss this issue. So I'm here with Dr. Fonts, the headmaster of CIS. So, will the situation in the governing bodies affect the day-to-day running of the school?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me. And I also want to commend you on what I see as your serious journalism and professionalism this year. Excellent Friday morning news, and I particularly like the final shot when you were wrapping up and sort of doing the papers last week. That was interesting. The short answer to your question is no. This is something that students wouldn't necessarily understand, but it's really important to understand the difference between the management of the school, or we could also call it leadership, which is myself as headmaster and our leadership team and the various people who contribute to leading the school, and governance. And the Board of Governors does not interfere in the day-to-day running of the school. So there will be absolutely no impact on students or your life at the school.
So we know that the administration will not be affected. So what implications are there for the corporate governance of CIS?
That's a good question and really a tricky question. But again, the short answer to your question is none. I mean, I think the important thing to realize is that CIS has always had one Board of Governors, one oversight board for the governance of the school, and that is the Board of Governance. There's been one layer of governance, not two. And so there would be no difference whatsoever. They let me do my job, and I, of course, report to them and let them do their job.
So do you have anything to say about the SCMP article regarding the
well, of course, it's unfortunate that essentially an internal matter becomes aired in the paper, and as you wouldn't be surprised to know that there are always some distortions, some things that don't seem at least completely accurate. I suppose what interested me too was that CIS got top billing on this over such other items as 9/11 or the new Chinese position on the South China Sea. So I don't know what that says, but I guess that's all I can comment on in terms of the newspaper articles.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, again, thanks for asking. I would guess just to emphasize something that didn't come through entirely in the articles, which is how very important it is to us at CIS to honor those who have made CIS what it is. And it's important for me that you understand that as you go through CIS and graduate. So, for instance, outside the auditorium, you've seen for a couple of years now great photos of the 25th anniversary that have, you know, have original governors such as Philip Kwok and Sir David Akers-Jones featured. We want to bring these people back whenever we can. We had a series called Living History, and I remember Sir David Akers-Jones, I can't remember what year level in the context of enrichment, or maybe it was choices, spoke to a year level. We had just last year at graduation, Victor Fong was our graduation speaker, and we've had a number of these really venerable individuals who contributed so much to the early life of the school, who have have been back on a regular basis. Mrs. Fong herself has been back twice in the last 6 or 7 months, once to speak to enrichment about, was that year level? I don't remember, about her book, and then just 3 weeks ago to give a very nice talk to the year 12 students in the IB induction. So it is important to understand that we're really doing our best to honor and include those figures.
So thank you,
Dr. Fox. Words of wisdom from the headmaster. We hope this issue is quickly resolved and wish CIS and all its affiliates all of the best.
In other news, Mid-Autumn Festival, 中秋节 or 中秋节, was celebrated Wednesday this week. The Friday before that, CIS hosted an assembly where all of primary and many secondary students and teachers showed off songs, music, and lanterns at this cultural celebration. Let's move on to the global news. 10 years have passed since the dreadful day, September 11th, 2001. Almost 3,000 people were killed on that tragic day. President Obama and former President Bush attended a memorial on Monday.
Discovered Al-Qaeda documents have hinted towards a 10th anniversary re-attack, and security was stepped up. However, no such major attack occurred, and the memorial proceeded peacefully.
Monday was the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks in America. It was a somber day for the country and for the whole world as well. The horrific tragedy of 9/11 happened in 2001. 19 members of the terrorist organization Al-Qaeda hijacked 4 planes. They crashed one of them into the Pentagon and 2 of them straight into the World Trade Center complex. The other one crashed in a field in Pennsylvania. The attacks came as a shock to the world, as terrorist organizations had never struck so deep into countries that were targeted. 10 years on, no events similar to 9/11 have occurred. However, America has been profoundly changed. Anti-Muslim sentiment, already present before, increased dramatically. Additionally, security was stepped up and foreign policy was changed profoundly. The war on terror started soon after, and great numbers of NATO troops died in the process of combating insurgents, which caused a great number of civilian casualties too. On the 10th anniversary, the memorial for the deceased victims of the attacks was unveiled. President Barack Obama and former Presidents George W. Bush and Bill Clinton gave speeches at the occasion.
God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble.
Additionally, memorial services were held all over the US and the world. On the day after the 10th anniversary, Afghan insurgents attacked the US Embassy in Afghanistan, but there were no troop casualties. However, some civilians were killed by the attacks. We send our condolences to those affected by this tragic event.
That's all for this week, CIS. Have a great weekend.